Bonjour, hello everyone, good morning. It's me, Corey Whitford, for November the 30th, 2020, live at 10 a.m. This morning, we're going to start off with the completion and the celebration of the inaugural week that we had. We want to thank all the support, all the contributors, all the organizers, everyone who made this moment possible. I want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. You've done a wonderful job getting this together for Mugs and Trail News. Okay, let us begin. Bonjour to everyone out there, all tuning in from the nations. First of all, we want to welcome you to MTNLive, located on Treaty 2 territory, right here on Central Turtle Island. We want to preface what has occurred. We want to remind all our viewers that it was the original Chippewa and the Cree of the territory that made Treaty Number 2 on August the 21st, 1871 at Manitoba House. That's in Kinnesota, Manitoba. Representatives from Rupert's Land, along with representatives from the Queen of England and Ireland, were there. They made treaty with our people. The original Chippewa, who we are descendants of, Ojibwe, who were present, constitute Treaty 2, and with the Anishinaabe that you see here today, including our 9 original local nations, and now the FNT2T government has 11 nations. Congratulations. We'd like to remind everyone watching here at this hour that the purpose of this treaty made between our people and the Crown was to protect the territory, and it was to open up for settlement and immigration, and it was to obtain the consent to inhabit this tract of land, and it was to make treaty and arrangements with them so that there would be peace and goodwill. I'd like to welcome our guest to the program, Mr. Allen Sutherland. Bonjour, Allen, to a fellow comrade out there. How are you? Bonjour. Audio, we're looking for audio from your microphone. Yeah, beautiful morning so far. Looking forward to a productive week here with Treaty 2. It might be your microphone, Alan. Might just be your microphone. I'll wait for you. Okay, so I want to continue until the microphone gets up and running. I want to let you know our 9 nations are in a very unique situation because we're in a Treaty 2 territory, which is so condensed. It has 15 more First Nations, 2 Treaty 1 First Nations that straddle our borders, that's Sandy Bay and Zagin, and 3 Dakota nations, including Chinupawapa is in there too, and 8 Treaty 4 nations, including Ocean Man, Pheasant, and 2 Treaty 5 nations. I think we've got a connection with Mr. Allen Sutherland. Good morning, Allen. Bonjour, ni chào. Bonjour, gamashe. Nothing yet. We had you for a minute there, for a second there. Okay, let's continue on. While we're getting the sound back, Alan, hang in there, keep trying, we're with you. Our First Nations in Treaty 2 territory, our government, our local nations are Dauphin River, Ebb and Flow, Gamblers, Sikuinin, Lake Manitoba, Lake St. Martin, Little Saskatchewan, Wichita-Sipi, Pinamotang, Skownan, and Tutanawazibing. There are so many nations here to account for and to work with and to unite with and form a common bond and a common direction together. I want to thank you for tuning in this morning. I also want to welcome the Grand Council who's tuned in this morning. I'd like to welcome our Governing Council, the Chiefs Council. I'd also like to welcome the Knowledge Council, the Men Council, the Women's Council, the Youth Council, and even our Grand Chief, Eugene Eastman. I'd like to welcome our Executive Council too. So I want to thank you all for tuning in this morning. Moncton Trail News Live, heard here every day, Monday to Friday, from at 10 a.m. Our administration here in Treaty 2 territory has 4 areas initially that takes care of the day-to-day administrative stuff. Our administration includes communications, it includes corporations, it includes finance and human resources, and it includes operations. Our entire government is ready and set and ready to go. Again, our administration has 7 circles that we operate in. We have 7 more circles that we use to our advantage to address and to draft laws and policies with local nations. In fact, the government of First Nations in Treaty 2 territory and the circles are structured throughout our administration. And overall, in each one of our circles, we have a keeper, a shkabe, and a keeper, along with regional office keepers and local nation helpers. And what they have been tasked to do, they've been mandated to deliver objectives and all the work, even in assigned tasks throughout the yearly work plans that have been developed on behalf of the keeper and the circles. So once again, it's a very exciting time here at Moncton Trail News. We're coordinating a media strategy and a communications plan so that we can reach the masses, we can reach all our nations, and we can talk to them directly, eye to eye. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. I'm Corey Whitford, Anishinaabe. I want to thank you too for making the time to watch our program as we begin day 1 of Moncton Trail News right here in Treaty 2 territory. Thank you once again. What is Moncton Trail News? Well, we're heard Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. And what we like to do is have daily discussions and interviews with our professionals, our shkabeg, our keepers, everyone involved. Bonjour. Bonjour. Bonjour, Allen. Nanga. Stand by. Aho. Aja. I'd like to welcome Allen Sutherland to the program, my comrade. Bonjour, Allen. Men vad är det? Och man ska snart då dem. Allen, I'd like you to introduce yourself to the people who are meeting you for the first time. We're longtime friends, but I'd like you to introduce yourself.
You went sorry. This is a launch of learning from the lodge. And there's a lot to talk about. That's why we have a series. And today we can only focus on my introduction. The next week I can get to what is the lodge itself. And I want to introduce the staff that's supporting me. It's the wellness keeper, Renee McGurry, and Private Turkesher. But in the meantime, I'll just describe that I am one of those 11 nations that they talk about. I am from Kishkwani, Donji. My name is Allen Sutherland. My mayor's name is White Spotted Horse. Washki Minutes, Mr. M. I'm also the Link Clan, the Judy, the them. But I grew up in town. And I'm And I grew up with this colonial history that we talk about quite a bit in our work of decolonizing, what happened to us. And my grandparents wasn't able to raise my mother or my uncle. They were part of that Arab-Indian residential school. Now, they were raising me as a child for the first time, because back in those days, you got to give up your children. And I raised in a traditional way of our people, where my grandfather was a trapper, a hunter, fisherman. He raised his own cattle. I was raised on a farm. My grandmother had her garden. And for a while there, we had no electricity. And then we moved closer to the road, to jump on a bus and leave the reserve to go to a public school called Water School. So when it comes to lifelong learning, I had that. From the humble beginnings of living the survivor society of our people, and where my grandparents said that education is very important in order to get into the homeopathic world and make a living. And so they really wanted me for that education, even though I tried a few times to avoid going to school. But they always get to work, catch away the taxi to take me to school if I did miss a day. So there was no getting around it. I got to get into school. So I want to describe myself, that experience of who I am today as a lodge keeper. Lodge itself is about lifelong learning from the time when you're a womb of your mother until you take your last breath on this walk of Maki that we call life. And the lodge represents that, but it also gives us back our empowerment that our ancestors want us to have when they made treaties back in 1871. So we went to a dark period. But we're past that dark period now, but now we're picking up the pieces. So we're decolonizing. We're getting back our identity, our culture, our well-being. And it's all in the process of lifelong learning, education, all levels. But ultimately, it leads us into our self-government, nation building. And I'll explain that next time that I'm with you, Corey.
Okay.
But just to let you know that lifelong learning is not an education system in itself, which is very important, because it gives you the means and tools to survive in this world, to take on this world. So I've done everything I can to participate in this world like anybody else. And it may not be the formal post-secondary education that
that you've patched in all the stuff that I haven't seen you in such a long time. It's happy. I'm glad to hear you've done a lot of stuff. Miwech, Allen, one other question I wanted to ask you: when COVID hit and you were working, how did that impact the pace of the work that you're doing right now, and how do you intend to move forward again now that COVID is here among us?
Well, COVID is not should be a surprise to us as Anishinaabe people. We had the time. We had the time of other viruses that came in play that warned us that we got to prepare for our medicine. So it's just going to be, COVID's going to be one of many because of global changes. Now we have the capability to look after ourselves. We're doing it now. You can see young people, like when I visit the part of GK in my community, just last fall here, a young man that said we know story medicine from my community. And that made my heart glad because back in the 90s, we didn't have people like that.
Wow. Definitely brings a lot of hope to my ears. Alan, if there's anything else you want to share today, Nijab, and feel free to share anything else. Any final thoughts at the tail end of our interview?
Yeah, we take the name to just the lodge, our First Nations Treaty Territory Lodge. The lifelong learning is just a component of that lodge. Our lodge is a close combination of traditional and modern. So we need that lodge to prepare our local nation. And it's all about our local nation to have their own lodge. Where it can be anything from a governing house to well-being our culture. But it's also for the local nation to determine that. We, in our level, we take the lead and provide research, provide the teaching, provide the people, whatever endeavor that the local nation wants. The lodge is there for them.
Miwech, Nijab, and thank you, Alan. It's been a pleasure talking to you this morning and catching up on all of the stuff you've been doing so far. We'll see you again soon in the future, Nijab. Miwech. Aho. Well, that concludes our interview with Allen Sutherland. Want to thank you for tuning in this morning. And partaking in our first official week of regular programming on behalf of Treaty 2 Territory. You've been watching Mogs and Trail News, heard Monday to Friday at 10 a.m., my friend. Aham sa dashnito ganaduk, dinayama ganaduk. Minog, igawaba migu. Ahu.